How are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Dakota?
I'm good. What are you up to today? What have you got going on? Any exciting things?
I did my little morning routine. I did some yoga and meditation, and then I went for a short walk and paperwork all day and emails. But that's been my
Yes,
day
my
so
favorite
far.
part of the day. That's
Yes.
basically what I did too without the meditation or dog walk. I've kind of been a little bit inactive today. I literally just did my emails this morning and then nothing else. That's all I've
And
been
here
doing
we
so
are.
far. And
You made
here we
nice
are. So we're a little
coffee.
bit behind, but we'll get there. That happens. Why don't you
Right.
tell everyone a little bit about yourself? What do you do?
I am a financial advisor, which sounds super boring, but it's not as boring as me. So I do mortgages, life insurance, anything money related that you have a question about more about, I would be your person for that. So passionate about helping people get their shit together financially and also educating them on the things that we didn't learn in school. And what do you do, Dakota?
I am a real estate salesperson or a real estate agent, which we can now say apparently. For the longest time, we could not call ourselves agents. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, we
Interesting.
could not call ourselves real estate agents because technically the agent is the brokerage, but they have just went back and changed that rule. So now I can officially refer to myself as an agent, which is a little bit cooler sounding than real estate
Way cool.
salesperson. Yeah, so I do that. I do it mostly in Guelph, Ontario, but I do around anywhere like Waterloo, Kitchener, Woodstock, Norwich, of course, because I'm always visiting there. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. I went into real estate because, similar to you, I'm really passionate about helping people, getting their lives together. And real estate, like buying a house, is the biggest transaction probably most people will ever have in their life. And it's
Right.
just kind of
Yeah.
like an exciting thing to be with some people as they go through that, especially if you're friends with them or you develop that friendship. It's
Yeah.
such a big milestone that they go through in their life, and it's just exciting to be there helping them, making sure that they're not getting screwed over, they're not losing money, the transaction is successful, and they're getting that house that they want.
Yeah, I think it's exciting and terrifying, but that's why I want someone like you that knows the process and can be there for the highs and the lows during it all.
Exactly, and it's like a serious thing, but it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
serious all the time, right? Like, you
Yes.
don't want to be stressed out the
Exactly.
entire time. You want to try and make it as fun as possible. So that's what
Yeah.
I like to do.
Cool.
Yeah, for financial advisor, why did you go into that?
So I kind of am one of those people that believes everything happens for a reason, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I ended up going into business general. Um, and through that, I was learning a lot of things that even I made the joke like if I wanted to open a law farm or a daycare, I still needed to know them. So I found this whole kind of toolbox that wasn't being explained to people. Took the route to go financial services, so I could be the teacher, the conduit that brought that knowledge to our because we have the ability to start now versus when I sit down with some of my clients that are older, they didn't start, they didn't know, and now they're in trouble for any goals that they want to achieve. So
Exactly.
to
Money
be
is such a tricky thing.
yes, and I also think there's a side to it that's like to do with energy, like how we think about money and our beliefs about it, no different than our self image. We have a money image, and typically it comes from like our parents' beliefs or the environment we grew up in, and it is usually negative. So to kind of help change that too, because we have to use it in life. It's not like, I mean, you could go off the grid, but it's something that's in our life, so we might as well have a good relationship with it.
Exactly. And one thing I loved what you said is like our generation, like in high school, I know that we took a couple classes that are kind of geared towards like kind of life advice with money and such, but coming out of high school, I knew nothing about
Nothing.
savings or money or insurance. Like I still I'm 23 now, and I still don't really know about my life insurance, or like I know about mortgages obviously now I'm in real
Right,
estate, but if I didn't go into real estate, what's a mortgage? Like,
right.
I
And
feel like the average person our age
doesn't
doesn't know like what a mortgage is.
right. And I think there's so much knowledge, but like to Google search can be really overwhelming. And if it's like if you're like me, you're like, okay, well, just forget that question. and then you push it off to the side. But to have someone that breaks down and it's like, look, I'm supposed to be the expert, but I'll give you the pieces that you need to make a decision, and the confidence and the empowerment with that too. Like, I know I wasn't even done high school, and I went into the bank and they gave me a credit card, and I had no idea what that was, but my parents just told me that I need to pay it off if I spend anything on it. So just, yeah, to touch base on that, there's not a lot of tools that we should be taught about.
Exactly. And it's also overwhelming. Like there's definitely resources out there where we could learn for ourselves, but going to someone who's a little bit older than us, who maybe is a little bit intimidating to us, that's I would never do that as a 18, 19-year-old.
No, no, and that's where I think we both want to be that relatable and approachable, and that, like, teacher that we're not 20 rungs above you. We're a few rungs above you on the ladder in an area that you want to know more about. So let's bring you up to speed.
That's exactly. And we're trying to pull you up that ladder. We're not trying to, it's not like a
Yeah,
self-gain type thing.
yeah, exactly.
Well, I think that leads us perfectly into our next little thing that we're going to chat about. The new network. Tell me what that is.
So the new network is a vision that you and I had. I think we've been destined to work together since we met in high school. Um, so this is just it coming into fruition years later. So the new network,
Finally.
I know. So because we're both business, we're both we both have like similar values, I would say. We want to create a place for new business owners, new entrepreneurs to connect, and to have a community that it can be nationwide. It doesn't matter what you do or where you are, but it's a community that gets you and wants to see you grow in terms of personal development, business development, all of it, and be there for you on the shitty days too. Like, celebrate your wins, but there's a lot of shitty days sometimes, right? And I don't want people
Exactly.
to feel like they're alone, because I think we see certain fail rates, or turnover rates, because a young person joins a business and the support isn't there, or the process that they're put through is a process that was for the 50-year-old when he joined. So we're kind of revamping and renewing with the new network, community, collaboration, and growth, and just like we like to say, like, helping people be better.
Be better, like just completely, not just business, not just your personal life,
Yeah,
not just one specific thing. It's just like this is your one life. Let's do with it what we can. We have so many
yes,
opportunities, and I feel like, not to like be harsh or be mean to people who aren't into business or who aren't into being successful. That sounds bad, but you know what I'm saying.
yeah,
There's so many things you can do with your life. This is your one life. Let's go for it. Let's do it. Let's not waste
yes,
time. Let's not.
and that exactly,
Exactly.
without them feeling like there's a timer on them. You know what I mean? Like, yes, let's
Exactly.
do awesome epic shit without being like, but you only have until the end of today. Like, we have time, but it's how do we create the space, and how do we create the knowing within us that, yeah, I'm meant to do amazing things, and today it starts with me responding to this email.
Exactly, just doing those little things.
Mhm.
And it's obviously nice to start young, but especially with our generation, like we never had this kind of support system. So when we were that age, that
Yeah.
18, 19, we couldn't I couldn't get my life together because I didn't have any resources to do that. I was just kind of
And it wasn't an opportunity, because you're like, okay, well, my parents do this, so I could be a nurse, or I could be a teacher, or I could, and it's like, oh, like, I think entrepreneurship, this whole door opened, and it's a path that I didn't know anyone that has walked down it. Like, I mean, you now have your parents that do, but it was this whole self-discovery journey on top of running a business, on top of who am I, how do I approach people, why do I hide from different things. Like, it's been so much of trailblazing and holding a mirror up my listening.
exactly. That's actually a great point because my parents, like you said, they just started their own business, but they kind of did that
Right.
later in life than what we're doing because they were,
Yeah.
mid 30s by the time they started their business. And you just see how successful they are right now and how crazy happy they are right now and how their life has changed so completely from working those 9 to 5 jobs, right?
Right. But there's also, I would call it like an evolution of how people are not settling, like not being 9 to 5 to live in the 5 to 9, because that's not life. Like it's not like I know when I personally worked at the bank, I like left my soul outside the doors, went in and did my shift, and then I left. Like left for the day and picked up my soul on my way out. But it wasn't fulfilling. I didn't have a purpose, and it was a paycheck. And for what? So I could complain about the time at the bank in my spare time when I spent that money. It's a vicious cycle, but people are starting to break it. And I love it.
Exactly. And yet that's the whole point of the new network, right? That's what we want to do. We want to see people living their lives. We want to see them being successful and doing what they want to do and
Yeah.
just giving people those opportunities.
Yeah.
So one thing I know that we want to do with the new network is a lot of community projects and community events, because I think putting time into the community and putting effort into the community is just going to lift people up. So I know that we have a couple of projects coming up. Is there anything that you wanted to like talk about?
Yeah. So, and you and I have talked about doing like a monthly event. So I don't want this to be just for like one specific cause or one specific organization. So we focused on women for members. So we were looking for like a women's shelter. We found one out of Woodstock. Now they're not necessarily a shelter, but they to connect back with us. And what we want to do is every month show like give back to something in our community while showcasing local businesses. So as an example, we're going to go around and work with different shops, whether they want to donate something or whether they have a product or service that we can purchase from them for this cause. Then we're doing a Facebook Live. Like we're bringing as much community into it with the pure intention of giving back, and also for ourselves, it's getting to know other people that might want to be a part of the network and could benefit from our community. Like it's a win.
It's exactly building those relationships in the community helps
Yeah.
everyone out. We have more
Yes.
access to people, more access to help people, and then they have more access to what we're trying to build here, which is going to lift people up.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So to
Absolutely.
sum it up, the new network,
Yeah.
basically us two putting a name to what we want to do with our lives, and which is building that kind of community that's going to support and lift people up, whether it be for in their businesses, in their personal lives. It's really just about making those human connections and not utilizing, but yeah, we'll say utilizing that to build a successful future.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. And I think I want to put in there too, like the word successful, because I think there's a certain like dollar amount that some people might for me, it's a feeling, and it's a freedom that I can work in a business that does good work, but it doesn't have like a dollar amount assigned to it. It's a feeling for me, and I just wanted to put that in there.
Exactly. And for you it's a feeling, but it can change for everyone, right? Like maybe some person
Right.
does have a personal dollar amount, or maybe they have
Mhm.
a specific thing they'd like to accomplish. I think right now society paints success as like the same thing for everyone. It's the same
Yes.
picture that you're trying to achieve, um, but that's not it. Success is
No.
whatever you want success to be. It's whatever fulfills you in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think pointing
Exactly.
that out, and if someone had told me that when I was say 17 or 18, because when I was finishing high school, I was like, oh, I have to go to university, have to get a
Yeah.
degree, and then I
Yeah.
have to work. That's my life. But that is not what life is, for us
It's
at
so not.
least.
Yeah. But I think
Perfect.
that's important too from this network. One more thing. That's like it's important from this network that if a high schooler comes across us, they're like, oh, that those aren't my only options. Like we can start expanding the mind of younger people earlier and earlier.
Exactly. University, college, they're great options if that's what you want to do. But that's not
Yeah.
necessarily your only choice, which is kind of what I think society is pushing our youth to. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't regret my degree. I love my degree. I have that degree in psychology. I learned a lot from university, but I then went and got a different degree afterwards and went into something completely different. And that just
Yeah.
stems from me being a 17-year-old who has no idea what is going on with life.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't want someone else to go through that. I don't want someone to be, that 17-year-old kid who is being told that they need to do this and this and this to be successful.
Mhm.
This is your life. You can do what you'd like to do. and that is your level of success. You don't need to compare yourself to anyone else.
No, it's about staying in your own lane and trusting that your journey is best for you. You don't have to impress anyone else on it. It's for you. This is your life.
I love it. That's exactly it. All
I
right,
love
so
you.
let's you're all right.
I'll take it.
Let's talk
Okay.
about what it was like starting this podcast and starting the new network. How did you feel when we kind of first really started getting serious about this?
When we first started getting serious, I was excited because I like while you were going through university, like I've always been looking for local like people from high school, like what have they done? And you were going through university, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like watching what you're doing. And then when you were in real estate, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool because I had little like you can call it breadcrumbs or visions, like little thoughts that would come up. I'm like, oh, we could do something. We could do something. And then it has come into something that's been so much like the dream, the vision that I just saw like a corner of the page. It's now starting to show me more and more. And it's been really exciting as we've worked together and gone back and forth and met up and been like, okay, like what do we want to do? And your creative side, like I feel like before I was seeing my business so not corporate, but like, well, this is business and this is personal and this is what I want to do with my your you sharing your visions has been huge for me because I'm like, oh yeah, we can do that and we can give back. And it's been very exciting.
I think it's like a bouncing off each other. It's funny. I remember us in like maybe grade 9 or 10, just sitting down in class, not really paying attention, just talking about life. And I remember us like just being like, you know what, we should start a business together. Do you remember this when we were talking about opening a bar like a
Now I
long,
do.
long time ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
Oh
like
my
always stuck with me. I'm always like, we could do that. Like we bounce off each other so well. We just have that like
yes.
connection, right? And now here we are. We're doing it.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So that's so funny because that's also one of the reasons I took business general because I remember I was like, well, I like, what if I wanted to like open a bar? And that's where that came from. That's wild. I love it. Cool.
Yeah, like that's always been in the back of my mind. Yeah, but anyways, how I was feeling, I was definitely very excited when we first started talking about this seriously and getting things rolling. But I found with like a lot of projects, especially going into real estate, going into university, all of those big
Yeah,
kind of changes in my life, it's that feeling of overwhelm of like,
totally.
what am I doing? Can I actually do this? Why am I doing this? And getting
Like
discouraged.
the first day that we met for coffee, I wasn't in the right energy, whatever you want to say, the mood wasn't right. Or I had clients that day that was just it was more stressful and I wasn't as engaged or plugged in as I wanted to be. And then the second time we met, I was like, yeah, like this is incredible. So that's a part of it too, is that you're not always you think of as an analogy, like you think of our cornfields in this area. They're not always being harvested. Like there's sometimes where there's nothing, it's a bare field, and that's okay. Like there's different seasons, and you caught me on like one day where I was in like a winter season and I was like hibernating, and then it was spring the next season. I was like, yes, let's do this.
I love that cornfield, Norwich, Ontario analogy. That was the most small town analogy I've ever heard in my entire life. I loved it.
I don't know where that comes from, honey.
Yeah, so when we first started, I could definitely tell that you were like maybe not as into it the first day, and then as we kept going, it's definitely built. And I think that it's going to continue to be like that because some days you're just very into it, you're very feeling good. Some days you're just very not into things. You just want to sit there. You don't want to change the world per se. You're not always in that mindset.
Right. We can't always be
And
harvesting, can we?
exactly, we're not always farmers. And I really do think that comes from being overwhelmed because I know for me personally, when I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, well, this is what I have to do to make this happen. And then it hits me all the things that I have to do, and
Yeah.
they have to be perfect, right? I can't put something out there that's not perfect. I can't put myself out there when I'm not presenting as perfect. And I
Mm.
think that's just like society telling me.
That's a load of shit.
Exactly.
But we still put the pressures on us and it still applies. Like Because I think when we go on social media is a big factor. It's part of our raising. So when we go on there and we see like, oh my gosh, look at that branding, look at that photo, look how pretty it looks, or look how polished it looks. But that is not how things begin.
Exactly. Like even like real estate, I'm like pretty new at real estate. I've only been doing it for a couple months. And I see all of these realtors and they have thousands of followers on their Instagram pages and they're posting every single day of these beautifully crafted posts. And I'm like, well, why am I even trying? Because I'm never going to be that. I can't post that. I can't have 1,000 followers.
Right.
But that's not true. Like I've
That
been
is not,
doing this for 2.5 months. These people are
yes.
doing it for years. They've built that client base. They've gotten those resources. They've learned how to make those Instagram posts beautiful, those Facebook posts beautiful.
Right.
They have that experience. And I find that sometimes stop me from like updating my social medias or putting myself out there
Yes,
because what
because
I'm putting
you don't stay in your own lane. Like you're looking at what at like one tree does not look at how fast another tree is growing. They just focus on themselves. But that's what we've been able to do so well with social media is that we've been able to look at the whole freaking forest and be like, well, that tree's not growing, and that. Like, stay in your own lane.
and all those trees are growing, but they've all still made up this forest.
Right.
And that's what
Exactly.
society is. We're not all going to be the tallest tree. We're not all going to be the prettiest tree, but we're all
Oh,
still a tree. We're all still working towards that goal of having a forest, building that forest.
right. And you might grow apples, I might grow oranges, but we've got like that is okay, and that's part of it.
Exactly. You're still contributing to society. And I'm
Mhm.
gonna go back to the Instagram post thing again because I find I'll just be like, okay, like I made this post. It's okay. It's not someone else's. I'm not gonna post it. But
Mhm.
the couple posts that I've made, they are successful. They're just successful on my scale. So I still have all my family members sharing them. I still have my sphere of influence right now sharing them. And I just need to wait because as I keep building and I keep working, that sphere of
Yeah.
influence is going to grow. And in a couple years' time, I'm going to be that model real estate agent who has those 1,000 followers and
Right.
all of those shares. It's really just doing and not second guessing. Put yourself out
And
there. Just do it.
yeah, yeah, because it takes time. And I think right now, like we want there was an advisor that used this term and I don't love it, but I'll figure out another one. Like we want the cake to be iced and done, but we're just putting the ingredients together. Like it takes time. We're planting those seeds where down the road someone's going to be like, "Oh yeah, I've been following you for years and now I want to sell my house and I dig your style, so I'm going to come to you." Or there's also people our age
Exactly.
that think they're not ready to buy a house. So when they are ready, you're their go-to because they know you and they like you and they trust you.
Exactly. I have all my friends. That's the weird thing about starting out in real estate as a 20, 23-year-old is that all my friends right now, as successful as we would like to be, we can't buy a house right
No,
now. Let's be
right.
real. Everyone is still focusing on growing their own tree. They can't be throwing themselves out there to help me build mine right now. But once
Time.
they're grown, they're ready, I have
Yeah.
all of those. And it's just like thinking about the future and not worrying so much about the present.
Yes. Dreaming, like, don't let the present stop you from dreaming about the future.
Exactly. It just comes to like believing in yourself. And one thing I always worry about like where to start. What should I do first? I have a big list of things to do and I spend majority of the time figuring out what I want to get done first or what I should prioritize
Mhm.
or what's going to get me further ahead by doing first.
Mhm.
But one thing I've really been focusing on, and another real estate agent actually, I had a really good chat with him about this, is really just starting. It doesn't matter where you start,
Yeah.
just
Just
start.
start. Right.
Get one of those things done.
Yeah. And
And then in 5 minutes' time, you have that time.
when you mentioned that like things aren't perfect, but you want them to be, it's like it's gonna start ugly, and that's okay. Like there has been so much in my career where I'm like, oh, I'm not going to start because I don't have this lined up or that. It's like, just start ugly, get it going.
Exactly. It's not gonna You're not gonna create a Facebook page for your business or an Instagram page for your business or TikTok, as people do these days. And it's not gonna just be this beautifully perfect page that everyone wants to follow and everyone's in love with, and you're gonna get so much business from it.
Right.
Just go to someone else's business page and an old realtor and just scroll down and just see their first couple posts.
Yeah.
That's how people start. It doesn't start beautiful. It just starts and then it builds into something.
And it grows from there. And it's always subject to change. Your brand colors, your name, like it's all subject to change.
Exactly. And I feel like I have a little bit of anxiety about starting things too, so I put it off as much as I can.
Oh yeah.
Even like, for example, like starting real estate, I was like the course that you had to take to do real estate, you get to do it on your own time. And I know that I could have done it a lot quicker, but I was kind of slowing down it a couple times because I'm like, okay, this is almost done. I'm going to have to actually start being a real estate agent. That's terrifying. What do I
Right.
do? So
Yes.
I would just sit there and be like, hey, I'll do this course tomorrow. I'll read this slide tomorrow. But
Postponing.
had I not exactly, had I not done that, I would be a couple months ahead of where I am right now.
Yes. And I think that's where we have to decipher why we procrastinate. Like, is it trying to keep us small? Like, are we trying to stay small and safe? If so, like, get out of that box. Or is it something that you truly don't want to do? Like, I think there's like something, well, there's always something underlying as to why you're not doing it. But like, dig into that. And if it's you just trying to stay small and stay safe, call it out and be like, no, because if I want to do great things and change the world, it starts with stepping out of the box.
Exactly. And that for us, that's our successful, but that's not everyone's not going to feel that. Some people, their success is getting that 9 to 5 job, getting that family, getting that house. And that's fine. That's your
Yeah,
success. But you still
that's
need to
just,
start somewhere.
yeah, yeah. And
And
you're
I
right.
think
Everyone's going to have their own criteria. I don't like that word, but everyone's going to have their own, their thing.
like vision.
Yeah, vision. Yeah, vision. Because it's not just things, but feelings or accomplishments that they're like, yeah, I'm successful. Yeah.
Exactly. I love that. All right. So I
Oh,
think
look at
this
even
was sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, look at our group from high school, like how everyone's gone so different,
I
like
know.
successful.
Sometimes I think about that and just where everyone's gone, and it's just not what I pictured for everyone.
Oh, right.
But I'm still just equally as proud as every single one of them because they're all out there like living their lives, being successful. It was just like an awesome thing to see.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think this was a really good snippet into what this kind of podcast is going to be about. I think we're going to talk about a lot of things that maybe people don't talk about and kind of dig a little
Yeah.
deeper into our feelings and our version of success. And there, of course, will be some shameless self promotion in there.
Yeah. Yeah. But just diving into it all and connecting is the biggest thing, right?
Exactly. And that's kind of the main point of what the new network is. And I'm very
Yeah.
excited to see that flourish.
I'm very excited. I'm excited to have records of our conversations that are cool.
Exactly. Yeah, all the time. Every time we go for a car ride or anything, like I remember 7 a.m. we'd be driving to school and just having serious life chats. And I cannot tell you how much I wish we had recorded
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
but to what we said.
Yeah.
But now we have that.
Here we are. We're doing it. It's so exciting.
It is exciting. What do you have planned for the rest of your day? Anything exciting?
I have to finish this paperwork. I'm seriously surrounded by it. So that's like the side of my job that it sucks my energy, but it's so worth it when I get to see my clients. So I'm doing the work that I don't want to do, but I'm setting timers to make sure I get it done. And then I'm going to volunteer at a wreath making event.
Ooh, making some wreaths. What's that through?
It's for the Optimist Club. It's at Urban
Nice.
Wheel, which is a really cool business out in between Woodstock and Tulsa Park. and it's like a consignment store. So all sorts of local artists have their stuff there. It's very cool. So I'm gonna do probably a little bit of Christmas shopping as well.
That's coming up. I can't believe that.
I know.
Today, I'm actually, right after this, I am going on a bit of a rescue mission. I have a family member who has a fish who's just outgrown the tank that they have it in. So I am going to pick up that fish and bring it to my pond.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I'm driving an hour for a fish, but worth it. It's gonna have a better home, and
Worth it.
yeah.
Rescue. That's actually, I need to do that with my old tank because I need to move it here. So I'm gonna recruit you for that.
Is it still at your parents'?
Yeah, do you remember in high school when I had fish? I still have one from like grade 10.
Nice. Yeah, I do remember those fish. I remember Big Bertha or Big Mama? Big Mama.
Mama. Big mama.
Yeah. So I thought we would end today just kind of
Yeah.
talking about some podcasts that we listen to that inspire us and that we like. A little podcast recommendation corner type thing. Do you have any that you wanted to talk about? What's your go-to podcast?
Oh, I like it. So,
I probably put
okay,
you on
you
the spot
start.
a little bit.
What's
Okay.
some of your go-to podcasts?
So obviously probably my all-time, I'm a very big true crime fanatic, and that is, I always have a true crime podcast going in the background. So My Favorite Murder, everyone's favorite, love that. That is a true crime podcast, but they also do a lot of life advice, and they just kind of have a conversation. So I love My Favorite Murder. And then another one I've just started listening to that is a Canadian one, Canadian True Crime. Very good.
Ooh.
She just talks about Canadian murders. And same thing, she's just like a super relatable person that you'd want to hang out with,
That's cool. I have not dove into the murder ones, but I feel like once I do, I'll be like sucked into them in a good way. So I like listening to stuff like TED Talks, Oprah Winfrey Super Soul Conversations. I'm just laughing because if you had said to me at 18 that you would want to voluntarily listen to Oprah Winfrey's podcast on a dog walk, I would have laughed at you. So now I'll just laugh at me. Gold Digger, the podcast, I like that one. And there's a few other ones. Like sometimes I like listening to ones that like I'm not religious, but I like listening to ones that talk about like spirituality and having a faith. I think that's just cool. I don't know. It just opens up your mind or like conspiracy theories sometimes.
Yes, those are good ones too.
Yes.
Also, another one that I kind of want to listen to that I heard about on the radio the other day. Hillary Clinton is starting a podcast.
No.
Yeah, so that's something I kind of want to check out, see what it's about. I don't really know what the podcast is about. I just know that she's hosting it, and I know that she's recording it. I think it's at her house too. I thought I heard. So
Oh my
like,
gosh.
imagine getting on Hillary Clinton's podcast, going to her house, and then talking to her about.
Oh my gosh.
I'm excited to hear her talk about this election and what her thoughts.
Yeah. And I think like I don't know if you're like me, but when I like sometimes if I'm in a mood or I'm looking for something, like whether it be like I'm not feeling like I'm capable of this, then I'll look for a podcast that talks about self-belief. So I want this podcast that we're creating to be what we look for
All the time.
Right. Yes.
Like just listening to people have a conversation and just being relatable and just going through things that, like I've thought about that maybe no one's ever talked to me about.
Yes.
I've never been able to have that conversation.
And I think sometimes it's hard to nail down what you're looking for. We're having these conversations about what we're going through. That's what people are looking for. That's what I'm looking for.
Exactly. And I'm sure it's going to start off a little rough. It's going to be a little bit weird, I think, recording a podcast for the first time, but hopefully people will stick with us and kind of get to that good stuff.
Yeah, get that episode 1,000.
Exactly, 1,000. That's a lot of talking.
It'll be good.
Anyways, so we'll have a couple of community events coming up soon through the new network. Things for Christmas, things like that. Right now, like you said, we're focusing on that women's shelter. We're going to be doing a donation drive type and doing some local business type things, because I think that's super important for the community. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited to talk to you about life and record it and
I
listen
know.
to it.
I know. Me too. I'm excited for all of that and to see where this goes.
Hopefully good.
It'll go good.